Go ahead.
Okay, now we are interviewing, I don't have that part. We are interviewing
Oh, I thought I gave it.
Mrs. Virginia Blackford
Yes.
of Clinton Township, Michigan, and this is the 11th of January 2010. And Mrs. Blackford served in World War II. Am I correct?
I was a WAC.
You were a WAC in the Air Force.
No,
Oh, in the Army.
in the Army.
In the Army Air Force.
No,
Oh, okay.
just the Army.
I'm
Women's
sorry.
Army Corps.
Oh, okay.
That's where they get the WAC.
I see. Okay, so tell us a little about yourself. Where were you born?
Born in Detroit. Exciting.
And your family? How many brothers and sisters?
I have 2 sisters.
Okay, and what did your father do for a living?
He was a mechanic.
Okay. And your family now, how many children do you have now?
7.
7 children. 1 daughter and the rest boys.
There she is. Where's that picture, Carl?
It's in the bag. It's in the bag.
Put it away, Elaine.
I have a picture of all the kids.
Now, I'm assuming that you joined.
Yeah, I did. I enlisted.
And how old were you?
I was 18, but you had to be 19 at that time for women.
Mm-hmm.
So my mother had to sign for me.
Okay, and what motivated you to join?
I just wanted to join because there were ads out all over the city, the county, every place. Uncle Sam wants you. Uncle Sam, you know, for men and women. They had enforced, you know, they had so many enlistments that they had to get in, and they wanted to get more people in. So I saw all this and I thought, I'm going.
For your country, it was a patriotic thing, or you were just
I was just a kid.
like all of us? Yeah, okay. And where was your basic training at?
Des Moines, Iowa.
And I'm not familiar with, it was all women camp?
Yes. Fort Des Moines. Shoot. Joanne, you got me all screwed up here. Well, this was our company.
Oh, okay, well, then show the camera.
This, you can't see anything because it's,
We'll take a little look at it.
Can you point yourself out?
where's that circle, Joanne?
Right there, at that side.
Right there.
Can you lift it up now, Mom?
There's a circle around my head, second one in.
Oh, okay. Let's see if I can bring it. Does that work or no?
Yeah, we can see it. Yep, there's, I
Oh,
see
there
the
you
arrow
are.
right
Yep.
there. Yep. Okay. Very good.
You haven't changed a bit.
Oh, God, thank you.
She's holding up fairly well.
And how many weeks was basic training?
That's a good question. I don't remember.
Had you ever been away from home before that?
Oh, just locally.
Uh-huh. And the drill instructor and anything significant you remember about the experience in
I
in boot camp?
enjoyed close order drill. I thought that was fun.
What exactly did they teach you in basic training?
How to, close order drill,
That was it?
yeah. And mind everything that you're told to do. You know, you had to be absolutely under their thumb.
All order.
Okay. And now after basic training or during basic training, were you able to choose a profession or
No, I was already an X-ray technician, a registered technician.
before you even joined?
Yes,
Oh, okay, so you went right into being an X-ray technician?
yeah.
Okay. So did you receive any extra training in that?
No,
So you went straight to work?
I was already registered,
Okay,
registered technician.
I see. So you were picked for the job, you weren't assigned because you were already trained?
Yeah,
Okay. Now, these other questions now are irrelevant. So you worked with, so you were an X-ray technician. And what were the living conditions like in boot camp?
Oh, simple, really. They issued our clothing. They, you got everything, your towels, everything. You had your foot locker and you kept it all in there and it had to be in perfect order.
Did they cut all the women's hair off like they did the men's?
No,
Okay.
definitely not.
And then after, where were you assigned after boot camp?
Well, I asked to be, no, I didn't ask. They assigned me to Percy Jones Hospital in Battle Creek, Michigan.
Okay.
That's a huge amputee center, at least it was then.
I see. And so then, is that where you stayed for the duration of the,
Yes.
for the duration
Yes.
of the war?
Yes.
And so when injured soldiers were brought in,
They were already taken care of in the field, so that they had been, if they had a limb cut off, that had been locally treated over in the field someplace. And they brought them in. What we did there was take care of their ongoing pains and aches and fit them with orthotics.
okay. So you worked with the patients themselves?
Oh, yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
You didn't just take x-rays, you worked with the patients.
Well,
I mean, you talked with them and
yeah.
still what their needs were and so forth.
In this hospital, it was so huge, you didn't dare step into the hallway without first sticking your head out and looking both ways, because the guys in wheelchairs were, if they had legs removed, their arms were like steel. They had trained themselves to be much stronger in what they were left with. So you look out, because they came tearing down in wheelchairs. I mean, they were really moving. And so you didn't just walk out in the hallway.
Uh-huh. Well, what was the general, attitude of the men that were in there?
They were all upbeat,
All upbeat,
yeah.
proud to have served their country.
I don't think they thought of it that way. They were drafted and they went.
Did their duty.
This happened to them and they didn't plan on that, but that was life.
Did you talk with any of them? Were there stories that you remember from speaking with any of the soldiers?
Not really, no.
Like where they received it, what battles they were in, and
That usually was on their chart. That came along with them.
oh, okay. All right. Well, you still must have had a feeling of patriotic, or was it just a job, or was it?
It was a job. Sure, you have a feeling for them, and you have pity for them. But these guys didn't pull that from you at all, because they were all upbeat. And you know what an x-ray table looks like. It's up pretty high. Even if they had no arms, they could get up on that, because they were strong in other parts of their body. And they would manage somehow. You wouldn't have to help them at all.
Okay.
Yeah, they knew that they wanted to be on that table, to be x-rayed.
Now, were you married at the time? No.
No,
You were married after the war.
yes.
Well, did you have any of these guys? You were cute. You're cute. Did you have any of these guys trying to date you, take you out?
No one tried to kiss me, he was blind. I was x-raying his skull, and he was blind. So I had to call one of the fellow technicians there. Hey, he wasn't hurting me. He was trying to pull my head down. When I was trying to arrange his head on the table, he was trying to pull my head down to kiss me. And so one of the other guys had to come along and say, hey fella, all she wants to do is x-ray you. But he couldn't see.
But he could talk and hear.
Yeah.
And so you were there for how many years?
2,
2 years,
Yeah.
okay. And then was the war over? Is that when you?
yeah. War was over, 45.
I see, okay. Any other experience you remember? Your co-workers, what did you and your co-workers do on your off hours?
Went to the movies. There was a movie theater on the first floor. This is a huge building, this Percy Jones Hospital. It used to be the Kellogg Sanitarium.
Were you a radiologist?
Is it still there now?
Well, they wouldn't tear that down.
What city was it in?
Battle Creek.
Battle Creek.
So is it still a hospital today?
No, it's not a hospital anymore. This was our X-ray department group. The man in the middle was the radiologist. And the rest of us were technicians. The man in the middle was Colonel Highblind. His family owned A1 sauce.
I'm sorry?
Highblind, A1 sauce.
Oh, his family owned A1 sauce.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
but he had gone to medical school, and he was a radiologist.
Now, are you in this picture?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, I recognize that cute lady there. That's
Oh, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, right. You see her right? She's on the other side of my finger. Right here. Right,
Yep.
right there.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
That building shows some of the pillars that were out in front. Oh, you can't see them very well. These were huge pillars that went up all the way across the front of the. This was a big, long walkway. If you've been up to Yukon City,
Mhm.
there- you know what that is like across the front of the building.
In the Grand Hotel.
It was bigger than that. This looked like something out of a movie set up for something, but these were pillars, and they were all across the front of the building. We had various characters in here.
What do
This
you mean
was
by
a-
characters?
Oh, this was our head technician. He was a golfer, big time. Then we had another officer. He was supposed to be a radiologist, and he had been, but for some reason he'd have them upside down and every which way, reading them. Have you ever seen a doctor, a radiologist reading films? They're reading, they've got the X-ray film up in front of them on an illuminator. He'd have them upside down and he'd be reading them. He didn't know the difference. So they just babied him and let him stay. Nothing happened. He dictated his results, but they were never typed up.
Because they were wrong.
What was his
Of course
rank?
they were wrong.
And then someone else would have to go and redo them.
Boy,
What was his rank, like
Colonel.
colonel?
Yep.
Oh, he's the old army, that's why
Yeah, I think he was.
he had to be.
And that's why he was no one ever said anything to him.
Right.
And this was all military personnel.
This was all military, yeah. But this man was in charge. This was Colonel Highblind. He was in charge, and I'm looking for that old man. I can't remember. Not there, no. Can't remember where he is. And Highblind, when he went to college, had been a wrestler. He sure looks it.
He does. And you don't remember the one, the colonel that was putting the x-rays in upside down.
I've got a picture of him someplace.
How was the commanding officer, what was he like?
That's the commanding officer in the X-ray department.
And how was he to work with?
Oh, fine.
He's a good man.
Yeah. He offered me a job when I left.
Oh,
His office was in Connecticut.
oh. So you must have been a good x-ray technician, a good
I
worker.
was.
Okay, I'll just read some of the questions on it. Tell us about some of the people in your unit. Who were your best best friends, do you still stay in touch with them at all, or?
No, I don't keep in touch with them, unfortunately.
Oh,
But it's, you
got
know,
a big picture.
you get away from these people. And
Bob Wardle.
what?
Bob Wardle.
He was a kid who was brought in afterwards when they were sending everybody else home. They brought him in and trained him as an X-ray technician.
You trained him.
Hmm?
You trained him?
No, well, no, they have to go to school when they're in the Army, when they're trained in the Army. This was a friend of mine. These are the barracks we lived in, outside the hospital. The hospital was a huge building.
Wow. Can I bring that one up close, Ann?
Yeah, let me zoom in a little bit.
Okay. Very good.
Those buildings on either side are barracks where we lived.
Right there.
Down at the end, there was an open pool where we swam in the summertime. There was also a pool inside the hospital, but that was for the officers.
Oh, okay.
We could go there on certain days only, when there were no officers using it.
Oh, okay.
You might contaminate.
You might contaminate it.
Show me a picture with your klutzy shoes that you claimed were
They were
klutzy.
officers and a gentleman, you know.
Uh-huh.
They're all gentlemen,
And they were all
Uh-huh.
gentlemen.
of course.
Well, you didn't, there was no USO shows, or what was there any kind of entertainment for the,
There was a room that was an auditorium that they showed movies, regular Hollywood movies.
for the soldiers?
For anybody, yeah.
Mhm.
We didn't have to pay to go in, of course.
Mhm.
That's how it is. These are some more pictures that, this was when I was in basic training.
Figured
Oh,
those shoes
yeah,
were
that's your-
klutzy.
What?
Figured those shoes were klutzy. The shoes you had on.
Oh, those clodhoppers.
Excuse me.
I wouldn't wear them. But they also issued us some boot-like shoes for close order drill, and that's what was comfortable, so that's what I wore most of the time. Or then finally they said you could wear civilian shoes as long as they were the right color. So I just wore, what are you wearing?
Pumps or something?
Something like this, only they were plain.
Black.
Now your best friend in that picture, you didn't keep in touch with her?
We did for a few, short time, but then she got married, moved away, and, you know, things like that happened.
Uh-huh.
Get busy with 7 kids.
I didn't move away, she did.
But when you have 7 kids, and she had a couple of kids, who had time to write letters, right?
Right,
Yeah.
so,
Now, were the men and the women in the building allowed to go to shows together and
oh yeah,
to date and so forth?
yes, absolutely,
And some of your friends did,
yeah.
some of the officers, but you weren't interested.
I don't know about the officers.
Oh,
They
okay.
probably didn't want to be bothered with the enlisted men. They were subhuman.
And so,
You mean according to the officers?
Yeah. Of course,
Oh, we wondered.
this was a photograph. Naturally, I mean, this was photographed in a,
Studio.
In a studio.
yeah. I think I had this done to send home to my mother.
Now, since you were in state, did you get to see your family often?
Pardon?
Did you get to see your family very often?
No, I usually went to Chicago.
Explain how your mom let you enlist when you were young. You were actually too young to enlist.
Well, I talked her into letting me go in. She had to sign for me. That looked like our car. Can't be. And I said, I'll send home a bond a month. That's $25.
and the tours.
she still had my two sisters at home. And my father was gone. So,
Now, why did you go to Chicago rather than go home to Detroit?
why go home to Detroit? Who wants to come to Detroit?
You know, that was perfectly obvious to me, why.
Yeah,
So you would send home a bond every month?
yeah.
And that's how you convinced Mom to let you go, to sign
Yeah.
up.
She signed for that, signed for my enlistment.
Well, it says, tell us how your service ended, but I don't want to get away from the 2 years in the hospitals. Other things must have happened in 2 years.
No, I was not in, I never was in no action or anything like that.
Oh, I understand that.
I saw what happened to these men,
Right.
and I x-rayed all of them.
What about the quadruple amputees?
I only knew of two. They gave them a farm. They had all four arms and legs both gone. And if they were married, and they were, gave them a farm.
Farm.
How, I never could figure that out. How would they work a farm? Quadruple amputee.
Had a brain, they couldn't work it, but they could run it.
Now, were they given artificial legs and arms?
Oh, yeah, if there were stumps to attach them to. They had to have a stump. Couldn't just attach it to nothing. Usually they did.
Did they give them a farm in Michigan or in their home? Were all these Michigan vets, or were they from other states?
I think that most of them were from Michigan. I'm not sure about that, though.
And so they gave them a farm in Michigan.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Close to home, I suppose close to their parents. I don't know really the details of that, but I know they got a farm.
Okay.
Let's hope it was near Saginaw or Port Huron or something.
I showed you my military missile.
Let's see that.
Now, they gave you that in boot camp?
No, at the hospital.
Was it like a Christian hospital, or was it a
There
military
was
hospital?
There was a Catholic wing there
Uh-huh.
where the priest said mass.
I see.
I don't know whether it was the priest who gave me that or who gave it to me.
I imagine it'd probably be the chaplain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. When you think back of those times, did you have fun those years?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it very much.
Had a ball.
What did you enjoy about it?
It was right in the middle of the war practically, except for, there was no action, there was no bullets running around. But
Right.
I saw all that had happened to these men. We had a few civilian nurses, but very few. We had one civilian technician in X-ray. She just worked there. They hired her.
And I think I asked you this already, but anything that sticks out in your mind, interesting that happened in those 2 years? Good or bad, or
Well, lots of things, but I can't. I should have.
Can you share more of that, the memorabilia that you have on the table there, Mom?
This?
That, well, you have
There's
the
a-
WAC newspaper there that you can show.
This was a company wax.
Now, did all that's from boot camp? So they would have gotten dispersed all over the country to different postings?
Yeah. This was from Des Moines.
Now, you said that you were already certified as an x-ray technician before you went in.
Yeah.
Where did you get that training?
At Blaine Hospital in Detroit. It's no longer there. In Old St. Mary's.
And you did that while you were in high school? Or after you,
I got out of high school when I was not quite 17.
okay.
So oh, I know. Dr. Blaine asked my mother if I'd like to come in and learn x-ray. And because my mother worked at the hospital in the business office. And I said, oh, yes, I would. I really would. So that's where I learned a lot.
Okay. I was just thinking, 17, you were pretty young to already have a certification in x-ray. And
No, I couldn't have my certification yet. I had to be older. I don't know how old I was. I had to go to a radiologist's office and take an exam.
Okay.
So you got your training in the hospital, not in a college?
Right.
Oh,
Doing it.
actually doing it.
Yeah.
Mhm,
And learning from the other technicians.
mhm. And how old were you when you went off to service?
Not quite 18.
Ooh, you were very young.
That's why
Right.
you had to have your mother sign.
That's why I had my mother's sign, yeah.
Yeah, already has that, of course. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Bradford.
Right.
And how was it when did you stay until the end of the war, when the war ended?
Yes, well, I was I was still working there when the war ended.
Tell them what you did. Didn't want to go back to Detroit.
No, I didn't want to go back to Detroit.
You and a friend took off for California.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tell her.
Tell us about this.
Gotta pry
I
it out
wanted
of
to
her.
go to California. So I arranged to be discharged in California.
Oh,
It's no case of arranging, really. They said, where do you want to be discharged? I said, California. You didn't have to go back to your place of, enlistment. I think the men did, but we didn't. Could go any place we wanted.
and they flew you out there or put you on a train?
On a train, and I had to share a compartment with another whack who was about 3 times my size.
And where in California?
You know what, I've got the papers. It was Northern California where they let me out.
And you and a girlfriend did this?
No. She wasn't my girlfriend. They just stuck her with me. She was
Oh.
going out there too. Whoever this person was, I don't even know her.
Well, why did you choose California? You just wanted to be somewhere different?
I wanted to be in California.
And what did you do when you got there, when you were discharged?
Well, I got jobs all the way down the coast,
Oh,
and I finally wound up in Santa Barbara,
okay.
and I set up a department in a clinic there across the street from the hospital. I worked in the hospital first in Santa Barbara. And then across the street, they were just opening a new clinic, Sansom Clinic. They called it the Mayo Clinic of the West, this area, because there was a hospital and a clinic across the street. And they did all this, people went there from all over the state out there, but like they do to Mayo.
Mm-hmm.
And so I set up the clinic, set up the department in the clinic. And I loved Santa Barbara, it was beautiful. More so than it is now, really,
Like that, yeah.
because it's, more populated now.
And now you're out of the service. Now what are you doing for entertainment?
Are you kidding? There's no entertainment.
No entertainment?
TV, that's it.
How about, what did you do with, what was your training beyond your x-ray out in California? What did you do with the,
I didn't do any training. I worked out there. Every job I had was x-ray.
didn't you use the GI Bill for something else?
What?
Didn't
Use
you
the
use the
GI Bill.
GI Bill for something else?
Flying, yes.
Considered a fly.
Flying?
I got a flyer. I got a pilot's license.
Now, don't be keeping any secrets from us now.
I'm not
This is
keeping-
the US government we're
I
talking
have
about.
to be. It's no, no, I've got those here too, where I went out to the airport.
Oh,
And
Got lost over the Mojave Desert.
over the Mojave Desert.
by yourself?
Yeah, by myself.
And you just couldn't, how did you get found?
I had to land where I could find a place to land and go in. There was a town down there, so I could get right in there and call for help. I needed money too to pay for gasoline to get me back home.
And then you flew back home?
Yeah,
Who did you call to wire you money?
I wasn't running. I was just,
No, wire you money. I mean, how did they get you money to pay for the gas?
oh, who did I call for money? Oh, where I took lessons. I called that outfit Allied Air Corps in Santa Barbara. And I said, I don't have any money for gasoline and I gotta get home. I had their plane.
Now let me get this straight. You're flying around lost and you see a town, correct?
And I landed,
So you landed near the town and you walked into town.
right?
Like you didn't land on the road or anything, you landed in the desert?
Yeah, it was smooth.
Uh-huh. And then you
Runway
walked,
there.
pardon?
You must have had a runway.
Was it a runway or just
No,
in
it
the
wasn't a
desert?
runway.
It was? Or wasn't?
No, it was not.
Well, you should have been flying with your husband. You should have been,
No, I couldn't fly it. Multi-engine plane.
you could have learned.
I was having fun.
I guess. Well, you walked into town and found a telephone and had them wire you money, is that right?
No, they called out there and said, you know, they'll pay for this gasoline.
Oh. Okay.
And then they turned you around in the right direction
And you took off?
and you
Right.
took off.
Exactly.
Well, how did they happen to have aviation fuel? I mean, or was it, did it just take regular gasoline?
I think so,
Oh.
at that time.
Oh,
It was
okay.
just a little, you know, either a Piper Cub or a Ronca, you know, one of the small ships.
Oh, okay.
But they flew.
Now, how did you find your way home?
That was not easy. Because there were mountains between where I was and Santa Barbara. So it wasn't easy. But I had compass headings and so I had to follow them closely.
Uh-huh.
Had your E6B computer.
Huh?
You had your E6B, right? The E6B, did you have that? So you could
I
fly
had an
across?
E6B, but I didn't know how to use it yet.
Oh. You're just lucky.
It's
that's
still
why.
at home.
Boy, you're flying, just flying around, not paying attention, and all of a sudden, you just said, uh-oh, where am I?
I knew where I was. I was over the desert.
But you figured you were too far out to turn, I mean, you had a compass, you figured you were too far out to turn around and go back? Your fuel was getting low or something?
I don't know. I didn't
remember.
figure, you know, you're asking me
You know,
questions.
she was out enjoying the ride. What are you giving the woman a hard time for? You know, you're just out, just
Well,
out
it's-
cruising and enjoying the ride, and gotta stop and pick up some more gas. That's all.
Yeah, I think I needed gas.
Yes.
Can you share anything about your uniform, Mom?
Was.
No, anything that's on it, what the bars are and,
Yeah.
Your rank, et cetera.
Yeah, this, what rank is
Yeah.
that? It looks like a sergeant's stripes.
Yeah, they are.
Staff
It's
sergeant.
T3.
Okay.
A T3 would just be the 3 top stripes. You
Staff.
know, what underneath would be a T4, wouldn't it?
Huh?
With 1 stripe underneath, you have 3 that point down.
Staff. Tech. But I couldn't be called a technical sergeant because that was a higher rank.
Now, did they receive medals like the soldiers did at all?
This is one.
Okay.
I was just surprised Carl didn't have one for him, because they gave these to everybody who was in that war, or who served during that time,
Okay, during World War II.
yeah.
And what was that?
That's, what is that?
Victory wreath or something?
Yeah,
While you're zoomed in, you want to get the stripes as well?
Yeah, sure.
If you can get over to this part.
Yeah.
with the mothballs too.
And then what's on the shoulder
Yeah,
there?
what's on the shoulder, what is that, red?
What is this? Yeah, this.
Oh, that was the Fifth Army, I guess. It was just the Army. I was a Women's Army Corps.
Did you get any other medals, Mom?
Good conduct. And this thing.
Well, you wouldn't have got the good conduct if you got lost in an airplane when you were in the service.
I wasn't doing that when I was in the service. That was later. I did that on the GI Bill.
Learned to fly?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that was a nice
Yeah,
benefit.
right.
Okay, so we got you back home now into Santa Barbara. Now, where did you go from there?
I lived there a couple of years.
Uh-huh.
I loved Santa Barbara. I wish I were there now. But then what was I gonna say? I don't know.
Tell them about who you lived with.
What?
Tell them about who you lived with.
I lived with a man and woman who rented me a room in their house.
Treated you like a daughter.
What?
He treated you like a daughter.
Yes, she did.
Waited on your
Both
hand.
Mr. and Mrs. Goodwin treated me like a daughter. They had their own children, but they were all grown and gone. And
She'd been a school teacher. He was a cowboy.
she had been a school teacher, yes. And she met her husband out west here. Well, I know, she took her sister who had TB. She wanted to bring her out west because she thought that climate she'd get better out there. And she did. So she took her out there, and being a school teacher, she could get a job. This lady, Mrs. Goodwin. So she took her sister out there. She did get well in that climate. I don't know whether she had medical help, she probably did. She also met the man she was to marry. He was a cowboy. This is more interesting than my life.
Well, you were part of it.
Huh?
Oh, go ahead.
He was a deputy sheriff.
Oh.
Yeah, Mr. Goodwin was. Even when I was living there, he still carried a gun.
In Santa Barbara?
Yeah.
Wow. And what year was this?
And I lived on Chapala Street, what year was that? Well, it was after the war, so it would have been 1945, 6. They were really nice people, very nice. And she rented me the room, the front bedroom. I don't suppose you'd know what a Sears house was. That's what they had, Sears house. Sears used to build these houses.
Sears Roebuck.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
very nice house, everything was built in. I couldn't believe it. But then later, after I had left them and come back home here, we went back out and visited that house, and at that time, they were gone, of course. They had both died. And it had been taken over by a business. Do you remember what that business was?
She told me they were lawyers.
Lawyers? So I went in and told them I used to live in this house. And they practically opened their arms to me. They wanted to know all about it. What's this room for? What's this room for?
Hmm.
Because they were using it as an office, the whole house. And so I told them,
You visited your own room?
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's my bedroom. And they had rented another room. They had 1, 2, 3 bedrooms. He rented the front one to me, the next one to another woman, I don't know who she was now. And then Mr. and Mrs. Goodwin had the back bedroom. And then they had a huge bathroom. I don't know why they built big bathrooms back then, but they did. And a great big living room, and the dining room, and the whole buffet arrangement was built in.
Hmm.
That was the way the house was built.
Hmm.
There were no basements, and so the furnace was underneath the first floor.
Hmm.
A Sears house, Sears Roebuck built.
Sears
Yeah,
Roebuck.
they had a whole series of them, oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
They were
Never did
really
that.
built,
Huh.
built to last.
Yeah, you'd order them from a catalog, and they would come on a truck or a railroad car, and everything was all
Oh,
yeah, there's a house near us. I have a friend who lives in one.
Do you know
And
how much
it-
they cost, Ma?
No, I have no idea. I never asked them.
There was one up at, went to one-room country schoolhouse. Living on a farm, 3 miles to school, 3 miles home. I can't think of his name. There was a house on the way, there was a Sears Roebuck house.
So how did you wind up back in Michigan, since you loved Santa Barbara so much?
I was foolish. I came home from a vacation, and I saw some of my friends, and I thought, I'm going back to Detroit. Dumbest thing I ever did in my life.
Isn't that where you met your husband?
Yeah.
You must have been about 20 or 21 when you were out in California.
Yeah.
So you sound like you didn't sound too wild except for the airplane ride. These
She's
people-
not saying anything.
I noticed that. But these people treated you like their own child.
Yeah.
They were so good to you.
Yeah, they were very good to me.
But you came home on vacation and decided you were homesick for your friends and...
How could I think that about Detroit?
It was different then.
It was a fun city back then, but it wasn't warm like Santa Barbara.
Can you share that piece? Isn't that is that your discharge paper?
Yeah. You know about this
Can you hold
charge?
that up?
Big deal.
It is a big deal.
So when you found out that the war was over, was there a big party? Was there,
I was in service. I was at Percy John's.
right? And how did you find out that,
Oh, it came over the radio. Everybody
Okay.
knew. As soon as the Japanese were bombed.
Now that's your DD-214 or whatever it is.
What?
Discharge. Is this your discharge papers?
Well, this is a record of service.
Oh,
What is your ID number?
A618252.
Say that again?
A618252.
that's something you never.
She thought I'd forget.
That's something you never
It's
forget.
tattooed on your brain.
It is. Mine was B52-1264.
I had two, and I
They
guess,
was
corrected.
that?
What was yours?
well, the first one was 1616745, and the next one was 0833473.
how come you had two of them?
Yeah.
Graduated from pilot school, they made you a second lieutenant,
Ah,
while I was an officer.
so they gave you a different...
You heard that, didn't you?
What's that?
He was an officer.
Was he trying to rub it in?
He was a gentleman.
Oh, okay. was an officer and a gentleman.
Do you have anything else on the table there you can share? Other pictures or anything, Mom?
Huh?
Set them over, set the ones you've already shared there. Is there anything else? Yeah.
That's nobody I know.
It doesn't
I know,
matter.
but it's just the
wax news
newspaper.
that you're showing.
Now, what does WAC stand for again?
Women Army Corps,
Oh,
Women's Army Corps. I don't know.
Wonder if you're gonna get any, what they call the women that flew planes, they have a name. Are they
What?
wasps or what?
What?
One of the things that really bugged me is when we went overseas, we went on a boat. And I discovered that, who's flying the B-17s over to Europe? Women were, nothing wrong with that.
That was later.
Well, it was during the time I was there,
Was it?
of course.
Oh, that's what they did there, huh?
That's right, just flip it over.
oh, I'm sorry.
So in other words, you're a little peeved that the women flew the planes over and you had to take a ship over.
Yeah, well, the bad part was taking the ship over. Now, I learned something as an officer in the Navy. You're treated like a god, for God's sake. I had clean sheets every day. Somebody made your bed. Sat according to the serial number at dinner or lunch. And the poor devils that were our crew, they're down there below the water flying. Of course, I was assigned duty to stand there. If we're hit by a torpedo, supposed to help direct everybody out first before I leave. I thought horsemen were.
Don't tell me that's an air conditioner.
I decided, listen, I'll help people by telling them where to go to climb out, but I'll climb out with them. I'm not staying down here the last one.
What's left? Anything to share?
Oh, big deal. Another office photograph.
Well, your grandchildren and great-grandchildren are gonna be thrilled with all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, promising. You're
So how did you,
a beautiful woman.
how did you keep your kids in line with your, when they wanted to go see the world and
They never
investigate
did.
things? They never
don't want to
did.
go away. I said that to them the other day. You want us to go out there and get killed? I said, well, your father went. No, I didn't think of it in time.
Enlisting. She's talking about enlisting.
I wouldn't join up right now either. My opinion is we should get out of there today.
Share that piece of paper, Mom.
I don't know what this is, Joanne.
It looks like it's,
To you who answered the call of your country. Oh. Oh, this is Harry Truman. Yeah, he says thanks.
You were just really in it for the adventure, weren't
pull
you?
the picture up. No, pull the paper up so it's closer to your face.
Would you have preferred to be someplace else besides Battle Creek?
No. Not now that I'd been there. It was a beautiful hospital. Beautiful. Huge building.
It was close to Chicago.
Oh.
That was just an outlet, so I didn't have to come to Detroit.
How did you get to Chicago?
Train.
For a whole weekend, or what would you do?
Well, usually, yes. I stayed at the Y. I had a friend too, whose parents lived there. So he'd go and stay with his parents.
And he, very carefully.
I missed that part. What was that again?
I had a friend, he was a technician.
Oh, okay. And you went to Chicago together to the movies and so forth?
No, not to see movies.
No?
No.
Oh, to dance?
No, not to dance. He went to see his parents.
Oh,
You talked about in the hotel, in the hospital, having a room when you would take a break and you'd play cards or something.
Oh, yeah, there was kind of an alcove in the X-ray department with windows around, and it was kind of a neat place. We played cards in there at lunchtime after we'd come back from the mess hall. We didn't have a dining room. The officers got a dining room. But we'd come back there and play cards. The guys usually like to play, what is that you play with pegs?
Cribbage?
oh.
Cribbage.
Yeah, cribbage.
I didn't know how to play that. So we played bridge. That's what I liked.
So,
How long were your shifts?
Like they would be here.
8 hours? 10 hours?
Probably 8 hours a day in the X-ray department.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be the same. As long as the patients kept coming, we had to be there though. If a doctor wanted X-rays at oddball times, we had to be there. Oh, of course, we had machines, portable machines that we could pull in. Up into the bedrooms. It was hard up there because there was carpeting on the floor.
But you didn't have too many emergency things.
No, nothing like that,
Right,
see,
yeah.
because these guys had all been treated in the
Right.
field.
And now they were coming back for
Yeah.
further treatment and
Right.
stuff like that. yeah.
Exactly.
Being fitted for
Yeah.
prosthesis or something.
To be treated.
To be fitted for a limb or something, yeah.
So when you came back to Detroit after your couple of years in Santa Barbara, what did you do? Get a job here?
Yeah, I had to have a job. I can't remember where I went to work.
David Whitney building.
Huh?
What? It was either David Whitney building or Kale's.
What?
It was the David Whitney building or the Kale's building.
I went up there because I did some typing for my mother. I wasn't working up there.
You were hired for them.
I was hired, yeah, by the doctor she worked for.
No, I mean, as an X-ray technician, what was his name? Hotshot.
What?
Who was the X-ray technician, X-ray, the radiologist, what was his name?
Where?
Detroit.
Why? There were lots of radiologists.
Yeah, I know, but the one that hired you sent you up to.
Dr. Blaine hired me.
The one that hired you after you came back to Detroit.
I can't remember, Carl.
Yes, you can.
Anything else behind you on that table that you can share now? I know you've got quite a few things there.
Black news.
When I met you, you had a job up at the Medical Arts Building in Highland.
Well, that was
Highland Park.
another X-ray job. Oh, that was Paris. Ivor D.
That's the one I was trying to pry out of you.
I didn't work for him in that.
Oh, he's the
My
guy
mother
that
was up
paying
there,
the
that's
paycheck.
right. Did a typing job.
well, I
So
Sorry.
what year did you two meet?
I don't know.
Met in 1949. Got married in 1950. This year will be our 60th.
Now, who set up the blind date? For
George
both-
Freeman.
Oh, for both of you?
Yeah,
George Freeman
he
knew
was
you?
he was a
Actually,
friend
George's
of
wife,
Carl's.
He's a friend of Carl's.
Yeah.
And how did he know you?
His wife and her sisters knew me. I worked with one of them, who was a technician at State Hospital on East Jefferson. Jennings. Yeah.
Were you reluctant to go on the date? Or did you want to go?
Go where?
On the date,
On the blind date.
on the blind, where did, you were reluctant? Didn't want to go? What'd you guys do on your first date?
We went, it was a party that was being held
Oh,
at their house. His family was having a party.
And then it seemed like getting married was the thing to do.
Pardon?
Then getting married seemed like it was the thing to do.
Yeah. This is in Chicago.
Did you ever fly anymore?
Oh.
No.
I did go out to the airport and go off once with somebody. I didn't fly the plane though. I'd have to be checked out again.
I'm hesitant to get personal or anything, but you know, I'm so interested how my own parents met, you know, and so I don't, you know, I never knew. So I want your children to know, you know, how you met. And what'd you think? Were you attracted to him because he was a pilot? You weren't even attracted to
No,
him?
he wasn't a pilot then.
Well, he'd been a pilot.
No, that didn't.
That wasn't it, eh? Just a good looking guy.
Caught her on the rebound, she's not gonna tell you. She had a boyfriend out in California and it broke up, that's why she came back.
Oh, you didn't tell us about that.
She had a 1935 Chevrolet Coupe
I did.
that she sold to some people that she thought were friends. They had promised to pay for it, never paid for
They drove it back here and never paid me a dime. But you run into people like that.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't know who they were. They were friends of a friend or something out there.
Oh, you drove back here?
They did. They
Oh.
drove my car.
Oh. And how did you get back here? I hope you didn't fly.
Either, I didn't fly a plane, no. I either flew or took the train.
Were you gonna hunt these two people down that took?
I wouldn't know what they looked like now,
Oh, okay.
many years ago.
So he caught you on the rebound, huh?
it. I saw
How many
her, she
friends
looked-
did you have who were in
she
the
looked pretty
army
good to
with
me.
you, Mom? Or how many friends did you have who had enlisted in the army?
I didn't have any who enlisted,
No?
no,
Was it considered very unusual for women to enlist?
yeah. I tried to get my girlfriend that I went through high school with to go with me. She got married instead.
That was really, women would get married younger at that time. I remember you, the linen closet in our home growing up was always just so very neat. Everything had to be folded properly.
In
Where'd
the
you learn
army.
it?
Rounded edges, yeah. You had to have everything put away so that you had rounded edge out. No broken edges, no cut edges.
And square corners on the bed. I learned how to do that from you. Tight.
You got me hooked in here, Joanne,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
Do you still find yourself folding clothes the same way you used to? You were taught?
I my mother never taught me how to.
No, I mean in the military, they taught you how to,
Oh, no, yeah, I still
still
fold them
find,
so that, and put them away in the linen closet, so
Mhm.
that the rounded edges are out. Never a rough edge, never a cut edge.
Stays with you all those years.
Pardon?
I said it stayed with you all those years.
I see all this traffic going by up there.
Passed it on to our daughter, she can do the same thing.
I did get asked by my father-in-law, who was also in the Army, and I had made the bed in front of him or something. He looked at me and said, "Where did you learn that? You know, to make it so tight and perfect." Right from my mother.
Yeah, you had to have your
Everything just so, huh?
cadet corps, they came through and had white glove inspection once a week. You know, if there was something up there like that, they'd reach up and see if there was dust on that paddle. Or up on, if they had a balance up around. You got gigs if they found anything, or
Mm-hmm.
White
things
glove
like the bed
inspection.
were, you know, we had to eat square meals.
No, I never had to eat a square meal.
You know, you sit at.
What's
sit
a
at
square
table.
meal?
I'll show you. If I can move this chair,
Dumb.
stand up, kind of glued to it right now.
you mean you had to eat a certain way?
Yep,
Not me.
for the first month.
You did?
No, as a cadet you did. And your plate and everything was just sitting here.
Yes.
I went to reach for his coffee, lifted it up, put it back down the same way. Always one hand was down here, sitting straight up like this. Not even supposed to bend your head and look. If you did, somebody upperclassmen would come along and rap you on the head or
Huh.
something.
And why didn't you have to do that in basic training, Mom?
We were wax. Didn't
Little-
have to do that.
A little more relaxed.
Yes.
I got lost once as a cadet, flying out of Greenwood,
We had-
Greenwood, Mississippi. I ended up over Arkansas. And I thought, oh brother, here goes out, they'll wash me out just sure as hell. And I flew around the town and I spotted this one building that had the name of the town on it. So then I knew I had charts. Found out where the chart was and plotted a new course. That's why I asked her. I had an E6B with me. Plot a course with that. Flew back. Landed. Fully expecting to be just chewed out right and left if nothing else. Evidently, I did everything right.
What were you going to say, Mom?
I don't know.
You were talking about the meal. We were talking about the meals, the square meals.
Oh, we ate off trays. We didn't have dishes in the mess hall. You go along, you know, they dish out the food. We had German POWs who was dishing out our food.
Really?
Really?
These guys were standing back there speaking German, you know, and you don't know what they're saying. But they were always pleasant. I don't think they could speak English at all. But they'd, you know, put the food on your tray. And then you take the tray out. You didn't have dishes for that.
They're probably saying something like, look at this good-looking woman here. And she's stacked. I said they were what they were probably saying.
I bet you those POWs got treated a lot better here than our guys did over in Germany.
No doubt.
They did.
Were there military guards in the hospital?
Oh, yes. course.
Yeah.
See, they worked in the kitchen, they cooked the food.
The guards, or you mean the POWs?
Germans, yeah.
German, yeah. Were they guarded pretty much all the time?
Yeah,
Okay.
How many were near Percy Jones? I mean, was it just a small group of
they took them back
POWs?
out to Fort Custer every night.
Oh, they didn't stay there
By truck,
overnight.
no, they didn't stay there.
Oh, I see. Were they maybe the trustees or something like? You know?
I don't know, they were probably, I don't know.
I think that most of them, unless they were homesick, were happy to be over here.
I'm sure they're happy they survived the war.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
First time I saw one, it shocked me so much I just dove for the ground thinking, even though I was in Air Force, flat down, thought I was going to be shot at. Felt kind of sheepish when I got up.
Where were you when you
I
saw
don't
this?
remember exactly where I was.
In
I
England?
was back here, no. I
Oh,
was
back here.
Stepped out of BOQ and they're coming by.
I guess I never realized we had POWs in this country.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah,
My husband has a friend whose father was a POW here, and he was in, I think he was in Arkansas, and they would take them out to the fields because they were short on field hands, and they would take them out to the fields to work in the fields and the growing vegetables and everything else, and one night this one guy was at the far end of the field, and he didn't see the truck come to pick him up, and he sees the truck go, and he goes running down, to jump on the truck to go back to the camp, back to the prisoner of war camp, and then when the war was over, he just was allowed to stay.
In this country?
Yeah. There wasn't anything left back in Germany for him,
Yeah.
and they allowed him to stay. Yeah.
who is this?
The father of somebody that my husband works with.
Huh,
Yeah,
I think that happened quite
Yeah.
often.
yeah.
Willie Elitzer was a friend from Canada he and his wife came from Germany, actually, and forgotten what town he was in at this point, but he was 12 years old, and they had propaganda over there too, of course. We were the butchers, etc. We were, in certain instances. Dresden, for instance. But his mother was so afraid that something would happen to him if he got left the house. They're starving, really. And finally, he managed to get her to say, well, let's walk. We'd taken over, the American Army had taken over the town. Let's walk to so-and-so downtown or something. So she's got his hand, and she has him in one hand and his sister in the other. And he says,
Oh, I didn't put that away.
keep my eyes on the ground. She said, don't look at him. Oh, he says, I'm looking. And I see these guys passing out candy and stuff. He said, I broke free and climbed up on the truck or tank or whatever it was. I gave him some candy and gum. It was delicious.
Oh, I guess these are mine.
Now, we've all seen pictures of the big celebrations after the war. Do you remember where you were when the war ended, and what did you celebrate? Or?
It ended in, what was it, Percy Jones?
Where everybody's shooting off fireworks and
We didn't have any fireworks
no.
to shoot off. No. At least mine, Joanne.
All right, well, thank you very much. Very interesting stories.